They drop flags from drones and try to pass it off as a victory. In Velika Pisarivka, in the Sumy region, Russian occupiers tried to stage a flag planting using drones. As military journalist Andriy Tsaplienko writes, the enemy probably needed footage for Airborne Forces Day. However, this plan was thwarted by operators of the 105th Territorial Defense Brigade of the 14th Army Corps. It was the fighters from this unit who quickly deployed our drone and, with spectacular effects, removed the enemy flag. At the same time, the pace of occupation of Ukrainian lands by the Russians over the past month exceeded the number of square kilometers that our defense forces managed to liberate. These are the findings of deep state analysts. The situation remains most difficult in the Pokrovsk and Kostiantynivka sectors. Dozens of combat offensives by the Russian army have been recorded there. In total, there were 207 clashes along the entire front line in the past day. An explosive morning in Russia. Drones once again attacked the occupiers' well-known marketplace. This time, they struck one of the largest logistics centers in Kstovo, located in the Vladimir region of Russia. It is known that the local wild berries warehouse covers 172,000 square meters, and it plays a key role in distributing the flow of goods between the Moscow region and the central, northwestern, and northern parts of European Russia. In videos published online, the moment of the drone strikes can be seen. You can also hear local workers shouting at the top of their lungs, "Go back home!" However, it is clear that the combat drones did not respond to the Russians' calls, as now columns of smoke from the fire at the site are spreading everywhere. It was also restless in Russia during the night. Drones attacked Belgorod, after which a fire engulfed the building of the local university. According to unofficial information, enemy drones were being assembled and tested there. The Air Force destroyed drones last night. In total, the Russians launched 181 drones in the attack, all of them Shahed. Despite the fact that most of them were shot down, 14 UAVs still hit 13 locations, and in 2 more places, debris was recorded falling. The occupiers' attack does not stop. Enemy drones are still entering the airspace. Therefore, if possible, do not ignore the air raid alert in your region. 1 person killed, 31 wounded, dozens of apartment buildings and private houses destroyed. The day before, the Russians launched aerial bombs on Zaporizhzhia. 2 enemy aircraft bombed the regional center. The shrapnel hit the private sector and residential areas right in the city center. Our correspondent Daria Nazarova will tell you more about the consequences.
A pile of bricks, concrete structures and wood. A single Russian aerial bomb turned 3 homes into complete ruins at once. This strike claimed the life of a woman from Zaporizhzhia. Volunteers and emergency service rescuers are carrying the body of a 71-year-old pensioner out of the damaged house. The neighbors were the first to rush to help after the bombs fell. The woman's husband was saved.
I heard a powerful explosion, like shrapnel flying. I went outside, saw black smoke, came over here, and then people started gathering, and we discovered that there was a person, a woman, trapped under the rubble.
Another victim from a neighboring house was pulled out from under the debris and handed over to the medics. A Russian bomb destroyed 3 houses on this street, and about a dozen more were damaged by the shockwave and debris. Mr. Alexander lives 100 meters from here. He says that the war in 2022 already took his house from him, and now it is destroying his family's life, even in evacuation.
In the dormitory, everyone was hiding in the corridor. It was horrible, terrifying. I'm from Huliaipol myself. We had the same thing in Huliaipol. And here again, there are decent people, but there's nothing here at all, nothing at all. Why are decent people being abandoned? I don't know, I just can't wrap my head around it.
This attack was not the last one. When we were returning from the Shevchenkivsky district, the occupiers started dropping aerial bombs on the city center. 1 bomb landed between the apartment buildings. Parked cars instantly caught fire at the scene, and a balcony on the 1st floor started burning. Rescuers and volunteers were leading bloodied people out of the damaged apartments.
Rewind this part and let's move on.
There are no military facilities nearby, yet these streets have already suffered from Russian shelling more than once. Mr. Alexander ran to save his friend. The day before, his friend, a resident of this apartment building, said he was slowly repairing his apartment after the previous shelling.
They had just brought new windows after the first strike. He said, we're going to install new windows. I said, no, those bastards haven't achieved their goal yet. More strikes are expected. And now what for? When I heard the explosions, thank God I was at home. I ran to my friends to help. We got the old man out. I looked around, that's it. Well, thank God I don't see any fatalities.
As a result of the attacks, more than 30 people needed medical assistance. 2 are in serious condition. Doctors are now fighting for their lives. Utility workers are working at the impact sites, gradually putting the area in order. Daria Nazarova, Andriy Kupovka, Zaporizhzhia, TSN 1+1.
A Russian drone attacked an apartment building in Dnipro. It hit the roof. Part of the drone broke through the ceiling into a room. Miraculously, there were no casualties or injuries. The roof, facade, and windows were damaged. Rescuers collected parts of the drone from the roof and around the damaged building. The Nikopol district was also under attack. The occupiers attacked it with FPV drones. As a result of the attack, private homes caught fire. A firefighter was killed and 9 more people were injured in Privilia, Donetsk region. The village was attacked by the Russians with 4 drones, and Sloviansk suffered a combined shelling. They struck it with the glide bombs, Smerch rockets, and drones. 2 city residents were injured. The occupiers hit a road bridge. It has been destroyed. 5 people were injured in the Kherson region. There, Russian occupiers relentlessly attack civilians with drones. This morning, they also struck from the air. 2 glide bombs were dropped on an apartment building. Preliminary reports indicate there are no casualties. And the day before, as a result of enemy shelling, 1 person was killed and 6 more were injured. The Russians targeted residential neighborhoods and the city center. 9 apartment buildings and more than 20 private houses were damaged, as well as shops and 2 museums. And in Novi Korotych, Kharkiv region, a worker was killed by a strike on a postal terminal. In Kharkiv itself, a Russian drone struck a gas station. In Fedorivka, a pensioner was injured, and in Pisochin, an enemy Geran drone hit a motor company. And in Volokiv Yar, an agro farm caught fire due to shelling. In Savintsy, the House of Culture burned down completely. An elderly woman was killed by an enemy drone strike in the Sumy region. It struck the yard where she was. Another 5 people were injured as a result of Russian attacks on Sumy itself. These are a 31-year-old woman and 4 men. The Russians attacked the city with aircraft and drones. Apartment buildings, private houses, infrastructure facilities, and transport were damaged. The number of victims of the Russian strike on the supermarket in Chernihiv has increased. Natalia Bachurna died in the hospital. She was the mother of the girl who was killed during the attack. Last Sunday, they were together in the store when, in broad daylight, the occupiers attacked it with a rocket-equipped drone. The drone was equipped with a video camera, which indicates a deliberate strike on civilians, police noted. 9-year-old Victoria Serebnyuk and 23-year-old Victoria Orik were killed at that time. Her mother was among the 25 people who were injured. For a week, doctors fought for the woman's life, performed several surgeries, but ultimately could not save her. She was saved after a repeated strike. In Marhanets, Dnipropetrovsk region, police officers had to provide assistance themselves and take a woman to the hospital because there was no connection at the site of the strike. The enemy hit a local gas station with an FPV drone. A fire broke out. When emergency services arrived at the scene, the occupiers struck a second time. 2 women were injured. Law enforcement officers provided them with first aid. However, one of the victims was in very serious condition with a head wound and other injuries. Due to the lack of communication, it was impossible to call an ambulance. So, not to waste time, the police carried the victim to their car and took her to the hospital. A pause in strikes and an announcement of negotiations. The situation between the US and Iran has continued to develop. US President Donald Trump stated that negotiations with Tehran would resume as early as today, after he, according to his words, cancelled a large-scale strike. The dialogue between Washington and Tehran is expected to resume in the second half of the day. However, neither the location nor the participants are known. Trump also noted that allies such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, as well as Iran itself, asked him to cancel the planned attack. Iran once again denied making such a request. It is also unknown what the attack might have targeted in Iran, as Trump dismissed journalists' questions. Let me remind you that the conflict in the Middle East has been escalating for several weeks now. Iran once again closed passage through the Strait of Hormuz, while the US launched devastating strikes on the Islamic State's military infrastructure and blocked Iranian ports in the same Hormuz area.
I was approached by Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and Iran. We were ready for this right now, and it would have been a massive attack. We were ready for it. But when your allies ask you to call off the attack, you have to say, well, let's see. And the reason they are asking is because, in my opinion, there is a deal, there is an agreement regarding Hormuz, and then there will be an agreement on the nuclear program. Or perhaps you could call it the denuclearization of Iran. I call it the denuclearization of Iran.
With each passing month of the war in Iran, Trump is getting more deeply bogged down and is clearly looking for ways to withdraw. So, most likely, the sharp change in tone regarding Ukraine is an attempt to shift attention from foreign failures in the Middle East to Ukraine's successes in the war against Russia. What do you think about this? And how long will Trump be able to keep up this momentum? Share your thoughts in the comments to this broadcast. And now the TSN broadcast continues. In Odesa, police have detained a man who opened fire the day before on employees of the Territorial Recruitment Center. The incident occurred during a check of military registration documents. According to law enforcement, the 48-year-old Odesa resident first refused to show his documents, then pulled out a Flaubert pistol and fired several shots at the serviceman. 4 employees of the Territorial Recruitment Center were injured. After that, the attacker locked himself in his own apartment. During the special operation, law enforcement officers detained the man. They seized the weapon from him. Investigators have already opened a criminal case. A notice of suspicion is being prepared for the detainee. 6 people were killed and 34 were injured in a traffic accident in Italy involving a tourist bus. The tragedy occurred on the Rieti-Terni highway. The bus collided head-on with a van that was traveling in the opposite direction. 3 passenger cars also failed to avoid the collision. One of the cars overturned. 4 of the deceased were on the bus, which was transferring passengers to the Marmar waterfall, 2 drivers and 2 passengers. The other 2 victims were in the van. These were tourists returning from a sightseeing tour around Terni. The injured were taken to hospitals. The identities of the deceased are currently being established. The investigation has been assigned to the traffic police. 2 people died in Greece as a result of a collision between firefighting helicopters. 2 crew members died. They were on a mission to extinguish forest fires. According to reports, 1 Greek and 1 Briton from the other aircraft were rescued, while another Greek and a Dane died. Let me remind you, 2 helicopters involved in extinguishing a large fire west of Athens collided on Sunday. The crew of one of them did not make contact. Across Europe, including Greece, large-scale forest fires continue due to abnormally high and prolonged heat. I will continue.